First of all, and above all, thanks so much for inviting us here today. Derek's been excited about this event for about 3 months, or however long we've been planning it, so it's wonderful. We flew in today into a foggy Knock airport, and I think it was quite a surprise when the plane hit the ground, because we thought it was still in cloud. Anyway, and it did stop before the end of the runway. That was the other great thing. And we've also got, I should say, Kelly here today, who works with Derek every week. I hope that's okay. Kelly is streaming us live across the internet, which is something Derek's done increasingly in recent years. At the moment, there probably, there might get up to 1,000 or so people listening all over the world. It's quite extraordinary. And also sending texts and messages to Derek. So you're welcome if you're watching online.
Yeah.
Terrific. So I'm going to tell a little bit of your story, Derek.
You can do that, Adam.
And then hopefully it'll be a very interactive session, because Derek likes it very much if you make suggestions for pieces, and perhaps even come join in some of the music making.
Yeah.
And Derek's got a very good pointy finger in case people get embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay, Derek, do you want to sit down? And
I'll sit down.
Start telling the story.
Start telling the story, Adam.
So Derek's story begins about 14 weeks early. Derek was born 26 weeks, I think.
26 weeks, yes.
And you were tiny. You were about the same size as a bag of sugar when you were born.
Yeah.
So that means that you could have fitted on the palm of someone's hand.
Yeah, yeah.
And Derek, like lots of premature babies, you had to really fight for life, really. Because someone born at that age, the lungs aren't developed and the heart isn't functioning properly and so on. And so you fought and fought, and you made it. You're here today.
Yeah.
And Derek's now taller than me as well. So
yeah.
Obviously they fed you some good stuff when you incubated Derek.
Yeah.
And really it was, you are a miracle from the beginning, Derek. One of the consequences of being in an incubator with fluctuating levels of oxygen, and this was before they even had things to measure blood oxygen levels in incubators, is that your eyes, Derek, the retinas at the back kind of grew too fast, and so they pushed off. And so now you can't see anything, can you?
No.
But Derek's got the most amazing hearing, so if you whisper, he'll hear you.
Yeah.
And as we'll see, fantastic pianist as well. Now, when you got home, Derek, your parents wondered, what should we do with this little baby you can't see? And so they got Nanny out of retirement. That's Nanny out there. It's you walking on the beach.
Yes.
With Nanny and the dog.
Yeah.
And Nanny thought she'd done her bit, really. She brought up Derek's parents and Derek's mum and her brothers and sisters. But they said, oh no, come back, we didn't know what to do. And good old Nanny had a brilliant brainwave, really. She thought, Derek can't see, so he must surely like his music.
His music.
And Nanny sang and sang and sang to you, didn't she?
Yes.
And I used to hear Nanny singing, and I think a lot of Derek's musical abilities comes from trying to trace Nanny's warbling voice up and down to make the contours.
Yeah.
And the other brilliant thing I did, aged about 18 months ago, was to find you that little toy organ from the loft.
Toy organ from the loft.
And that really was the thing that transformed you into this little boy who didn't really understand language, didn't really understand the world, but the organ did mean something, because that meant you could copy the sounds that you heard and the music that you heard.
Yes.
And in fact, the very first thing anyone ever heard you play, Derek, was in
Dublin's Fair City.
So do you want to do a grown-up Derek take on In Dublin's Fair City?
I'd like to do a grown-up take on In Dublin's Fair City, Adam.
gone to Australia and South America.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania!
Excellent. Was there a dip in viewers, as they say? No?
No, I wasn't.
No.
That's going to be brilliant.
It is.
Now then, Dane, the challenge that you had, I think, was because you couldn't see.
I couldn't
And so
see.
you didn't know how you were supposed to play the piano. And so, and of
How
course,
do I do it, isn't it, Adam?
H2 don't have tiny hands. And so you used to do it by hitting it, maybe, and elbowing the piano, and even headbutting the piano to make the notes work. And in fact, I've got Derek, this is Derek aged about 4, there's a picture of you, in fact there's 9 pictures of you there, playing English Country Garden.
English Country Garden.
I would put the microphone like this, so make it work.
Playing that, Adam. Yeah.
Well, you listen first of all, then. Here we go. I need my glasses then. That's time of life. Right, let's try it. This is Derek age 4. And that was with no piano lessons at all. That was just Derek teaching yourself, wasn't it?
Teaching myself to play.
And Derek, you have lots of qualities in good memory, so you can still remember English Country Garden.
I can still remember that, Adam.
With a bit more jazziness, I expect.
Can do it jazzy.
Here we go. Before Derek leaves, he needs to learn some Irish jigs. So that's
Some Irish jigs, yes.
Excellent. Now, so how do we get from Derek age 4 to Derek today? I think Derek, when they see you, they often think it's just like a gift, you know, that you have to work at. And in fact, it's not that at all. Derek and I spend literally probably about 10,000 hours on scales.
On scales?
Poor Derek from the age of 5. Luckily or unluckily, went to a boarding school for visually impaired.
Linden Lodge.
Linden Lodge. And that meant that we could get up early at 7 o'clock and do some scales before breakfast, didn't it?
Yes, Adam.
And the tricky part was, Derek, you didn't like sharing your piano with me.
I didn't like sharing my piano with you.
So I'd start to play something and I'd get shoved off.
Dear Adam.
Not anymore, it's very right. So we did lots and lots of things going like little
finger, forefinger, third finger, second finger, thumb, third finger, forefinger, thumb.
All of that, yes. And Derek just took to it like a duck to water. I think there's a myth that scales and exercises are boring. Well, people on the autism spectrum often don't think they are. They're brilliant because they're totally predictable. And you loved it, didn't you?
I did like it, Adam.
Extremely good at it.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I said, can you do a chromatic scale in double octaves? Can you do that?
I can do a chromatic scale in double octaves, Adam.
So that's a minor scale. Can you do double octaves? Yay! What about faster then?
Can do it faster, Adam.
Whoa. Derek just developed an amazing technique, and all that has come through hours and hours of hard work, because you really did work hard when you were little there.
I did, Adam.
But there's still a sort of element missing. People saying, yeah, but how does Derek learn to play by ear like that? Well, it's something called perfect pitch.
Perfect pitch.
Absolute pitch. And about 40%, almost half of blind children who are born blind, go on to develop perfect pitch. And about 10 or 15% of children on the autism spectrum. So you can see if you've got both, that it's quite a high likelihood that this will develop. And people say, what is perfect pitch first of all? Well, perfect pitch is, in a simple sense, knowing what each note sounds like. So there are 88 notes, maybe more on this piano keyboard, a couple more probably. And to us, to most people, they just sound a bit high or a bit low. So if I play a note over here, don't say anything. That sounds quite high. Yeah. Or in the middle, or down there. Whereas for Derek, as you can see, they all sound completely different. So whenever Derek goes on the plane, or in the car, or even just clinking with the cutlery, each sound sounds like a musical note to him. And it's the same for many, many of the children I work with. So I think, no wonder the children are quite tired when they get playing online. And no wonder they want to put their fingers in their ears sometimes, because that's what you call hyperacusis, that tremendous sensitivity to sound, which is such a blessing for music, can also be a curse in everyday life when there's sounds popping up everywhere that you don't like and don't want. The other thing is that people say, well, when does that start? Well, it starts probably developing from the age of about 12 months. And most children have absolute pitch, if they don't have it, from about 24 months. And that's typically when autistic children start teaching themselves instruments, which they often do if they've got that ability. And so by the time you were 24 months, Derek, your musical ear was already amazingly well developed, much more than most adults.
Yeah.
And it's not just one note, so I can play lots of notes, can't I? If I play like put the microphone down. Oh, I can't ask you to hold it down. So if I play, say, this one. For Derek, it's as easy as breathing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shall I tell them a funny story of you falling asleep?
Yes, please, Adam.
So we were up in the north of England a few months ago, and it had been a long day. today has been a pleasure in comparison to British Rail in England. Anyway, and we got up to the afternoon and we were doing, about this time of the afternoon, doing concerts for some children. And Derek was accompanying a singer, Hannah. And I suddenly noticed, that's funny, he stuck on that chord for a while, he was playing the same chord. And I looked, he was actually asleep. You're playing and you're sleeping.
You had to say wake up, didn't you, Adam?
All right, Hannah was kind of wondering what. But it just shows, you know, I think honestly for Derek and for children and young people and adults like you, Derek, making music is such a natural, easy thing to do. It really is as easy as breathing for Derek. And so while it's fantastic what he can do, because we can't do it, for you it must be a puzzle why everyone can't hear music in the way that you can.
Yeah.
And I think for younger autistic children, you know, it might be hard for us to understand how they are perceiving the world, but of course for them it must be impossible for them to grasp why all these people just don't get an interest in the Hoover or the microwave or whatever it is that's going on. So you combine an absolute obsession with musical sound and Derek's technical abilities and the absolute pitch, and you get a musician like you, Derek.
Yeah, a musician, yes.
Brilliant. So what happens next? So 10,000 hours, we did that. Yeah, so by the time Derek was 9 years old, you appeared in the Barbican in London, playing with orchestras and things.
I did, Adam.
Do you remember what you played?
I can remember what I played, Adam. I played Love, Adam.
Here it is, Derek. You still remember it?
Yes.
Right.
We can ask how the streaming's going.
We've got people watching in Chicago, Israel, Australia, Japan, Toronto, British Columbia.
Anybody in Sligo?
No,
Cork.
Cork.
Wishes they were here.
Wishes they were here.
Right, here we go. Very good. Well done. Well done. So, I guess another key thing. When I started work in this area, people had the idea that people like you, Derek, were just automata. They were like what we call today iPods. In other words, it was just a question of copying whatever you had. And I think you were really one of the first people to put on the map the fact that it's not like that actually. That actually autistic people can be intensely creative. It's just that sometimes we don't read it in the right way. And a good way of showing that, there's a number of ways. One is if we take a simple tune, Derek, like say Twinkle Twinkle.
Do Twinkle Twinkle.
And then we can ask Derek to create some variations on it.
Some improvised variations on it.
Yeah. It took Derek a long, having said that, it took about 5 years to get what improvising meant. Because I'd said, well, it's like this, Derek, I'll be blue. So Derek would go, blue. So then you have to do something different. So I went, like this, brother. So Derek would go, blue. In the end, you got it, didn't you?
I did get it, Adam, yeah.
So what about a nice set of variations on Twinkle Twinkle?
We could do Twinkle Twinkle.
On C, perhaps?
On C.
Start really simply, Derek.
Start very simply, Adam.
Here we go.
It is time for audience participation, Adam.
Should you go for someone at the back or someone at the front?
At the back.
At the back. Hey, listen, you don't need to be able to play anything. All I want to do is play 4 different notes for Derek to make a piece on for today, which will be called the Sligo Blues.
The Sligo Blues.
Shall we call the Fogs of Knock?
Okay.
Right. Good. Okay. So we need anyone, ladies and gentlemen, to come and just play 4 notes. 4 random notes. In fact, it's better if it's 4 random notes. Yeah, well, anyone to play 4 random. Yeah, it is good. Thank you, sir. Here we go. Thank you very much. Anyway, around the middle is slightly easier for people to hear. So, which one? A, E, E flat. You make it that, Derek.
All right, Adam.
Exactly.
Sligo Blues.
Should we change kingdom?
Change kingdom.
Got some nice harmonies there.
Harmonies.
Nice new tune to fit with the merry-go-round. Walking bass.
Walking bass.
Some jabs.
Jabs.
And how do we finish it? Big double. That was the Sligo Blues.
The Sligo
Never to be
Blues.
repeated. Who's listening to that, Kate?
St. Louis, Vancouver.
Vancouver. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyone from Sligo yet?
Anybody
No.
from Sligo yet, Kelly?
Where are you?
Great. And then, I mean, there's, again, I think another myth of people with autism is that you don't somehow like people. It's just not true. I work with lots of autistic boys. They're all incredibly affectionate. I think they're just so used to people retreating from them because they sometimes come up, want to give you a big hug, and you kind of run away, especially if the guy's 6 foot tall coming in. But the reality is, it's that what makes you tick, Derek, is your love
Yeah.
of people, really.
Love of people,
Music
yeah.
is just a way to get to people, to communicate with people. Shall we do a duet with someone?
We'll do a duet with somebody.
Right, that's easy. So, would someone like to play something, Derek? Anything at all. And see what Derek can do. Or if you don't want to play, just put in a tune on an iPod or something.
Tune on an
Get some
iPod
music going there.
to get some music going. Yes,
Yeah.
Adam.
I think somebody else wants to.
I thought you put it in.
No, really, somebody else wants
See what Derek can do.
I'll do a jig if you want.
Yes, please. Yes,
Could do a jig. Yay.
Right. We need to move the furniture. Right, Derek, you hop up.
I'll hop up.
You go down that end.
I'll go down.
Hello.
That's it.
Maeve.
Maeve.
Right, Maeve's going to play a jig for you there. I thought you were going to play it.
Anybody else? Are you looking for somebody else?
Well, I hope, yeah, would anyone else like to? It's some singers, aren't there? Yeah.
There's some singers, yeah.
We have a Sligo song called
Oh.
Sally Gardens.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard it before.
Is it Sally Garden? Sally
It's
Garden?
down by the Sally Gardens.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The Yates. Oh,
Yes.
what's the
Because
Yates
we're
around
in
here?
Sligo, I don't know if you've have you
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
it.
Can you sing? Can you
I
sing
can
it?
sing it,
Yeah. Yeah, come and sing it.
Do I have to?
Where's this going, Kay?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas!
Is it like the Sally Gardens we might know? Sally Gardens?
I think, yeah.
You nearly fell over in front of the
I
wall
did.
then.
It's the new Sally Gardens.
If you, best things for you to start singing.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Do you want a mic?
No, no, it's probably okay. I might be very loud for you, Derek. I'm sorry.
Just listen.
Down by the sunny gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the sunny gardens with little snow white feet. She bid me take of easy as the leaves grow on the trees. But I was young and foolish, with her did not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my kneeling shoulder she placed her snow white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the waves. But I, being young and foolish, and now I'm full of
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Fantastic. Gosh, it's quite moving.
Yeah.
What do people think of that line?
Beautiful voice, great stuff, both great, mind blown.
Wow! Derek has made me famous.
Yeah.
Shall we ask someone to play who can't actually play there?
Yes, Adam.
Derek, don't spoil the surprise. Derek is not good at secret. So, anyone who just doesn't play, but we're going to play, I promise. It's not embarrassing, in any way humiliating, or be on Facebook tonight. All you need to do is play one note. Anyone? I can show you which note. I might have to pick on the most senior. Yeah. Hey!
Derek, we have some students here from Summerhill College in Sligo, so this is one of the boys, isn't it? From Summerhill. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello,
What's your name?
Brandon Carey.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you,
What I
Brandon.
need to do is do this.
Good to see you too.
That's it. Got it. Good bow. Good bow. Well, listen, the concert now is really down to you. What you would like, how you'd like to interact with Derek. So you could ask him a request.
A request?
You could come and play a piece that you might like to hear, one of your favourite pieces that you've got a recording of, that Derek could do an arrangement of.
Yes.
You could come and sing something, or come and dance. What do you reckon, Derek?
Just dancing, yes.
So, I'll tell you what, why don't we think of a piece while everyone's thinking what they might like.
Okay, yes, Adam.
Can you push your glasses up? I'm going to whisper there. Famous last one.
Going to ask some requests. Can I start at the front, isn't it? Has anybody got a request of a music tune that you'd like to hear me play? A favourite tune that you'd like to hear me play?
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Could do Sweet Georgia Brown.
How are you going to do it, Derek?
Fast, Adam, and quite slowly.
Fast. Quite fast.
Quite fast, I think. choice, yeah.
What's your favourite Christmas tune?
Maybe In the Bleak Midwinter?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Want to sing along?
Yeah.
Yes. Sing along, yeah. Can do that, Adam.
Just wondering which one it's going to be.
Do a really fast one.
We'll do a really fast one, please, Adam.
Do you want to do Flight of the Wasp?
Flight of the Bumblebee. The Bumblebee. It's the Flight of the Bumblebee, Adam.
Right,
Silly Adam.
here we go.
Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yes, would anyone like to ask a question?
Can I ask a question? Yes.
Is there any particular type of music that makes you very emotional? Or any songs that make you very emotional?
Not sure.
What do you reckon, Derek?
Don't know.
Not sure, yeah.
Not sure.
I think Derek feels lots of things, but you find it hard to put them into words.
I had put them into words, yes.
But you play quite differently according to who's around and the kind of feel.
Kind of
So,
feel, yes.
I think we're in good form today, Derek.
I'm in very good form today, yes. I play quite differently, yes.
I was hearing so much in what you were playing, so many musical influences,
Mm.
and I'm really interested to know, do you listen to lots and lots and lots of different types of music? Because I can only imagine that you would have to listen to lots of different types of music to be able to play in all of the styles that you seem to be influenced by.
I do listen to types of music, not sure which one.
No. So, Derek and I started working when you were 5.
When I was 5.
Just before I got married. Yes. My wife has now reconciled herself to Derek Bailey in her life.
Yes.
Yes, and by the time you were 10, Derek,
Yes.
working at a school for the blind, of course the children didn't know who was playing, and they could no longer tell if it was me or Derek. So I thought at that stage it probably need to give Derek a different teacher. You've had a whole, what we tried to do is have a whole succession of people playing in different styles, with different fields, so that you can assimilate them all.
Simulate them all.
And make your own Derek style. So you have some fabulous jazz pianists, some wonderful classical pianists.
Classical pianists.
Sort of folk.
Folk music
rock, all sorts of things.
and rock.
And I think when you play the piano, Derek, you make a sound that no one else makes. I think partly because of the... Funny enough, I think it all stemmed from when you were a very little boy. Can I just show you?
Yes, please, Adam.
Most of us, if we were playing, we put the melody in the top of the right hand, like this. So if we were playing Eden Bleak Me Wintergreen, for example, we'd do that. What Derek did when he was little, because he wanted to get a lot of pressure on the melody, he used his 2 thumbs together.
Yeah.
And you do with your thumb. And that meant all these fingers were free to do other things. So a typical Derek texture has the tune in the middle and stuff. A bass line and something else, and something up here. Just do a bit of the Bleak Winter there.
Okay.
Hard to transcribe, and even if you can transcribe it, it's very hard to play because, like someone like Keith Jarrett, when Derek plays a chord, all the notes have different weights. So even playing a simple chord, and give you a simple example. So even a simple chord like, say, this, Derek might play it, bring out the B. So it's quite hard to emulate. What's chords that, Derek?
C major 7.
Yeah, C major 7. There was a time when you thought everything was called diminished of diminished, but... Very good. Yeah, any more?
Any more questions?
Here on the
Yeah, go on, you chair it.
yes, lady up here in the
Apart from anything else, I'll see we got through.
Hi, I'm really interested in your relationship.
Right.
Relationship.
Your relationship, Derek. I'm just wondering, have you and Adam ever fallen out?
No, I don't think I have fallen out. No, I don't think so.
You've never had an argument?
No, haven't had an argument. No, Adam.
What about the time you played yesterday in F sharp?
Argument then, didn't I, Adam?
Yes. No, not since Derek was a tiny boy, actually. I think, well, no, I mean, you call it an argument, but I think the reason why you've got a fantastic life you have is because you've learned, Derek, to, I mean, not to do what you're told that's wrong, but, you know, to kind of understand the social context in which you play. And sometimes, with little children with autism, you just have to say, well, here's the rule. I know you don't understand it, but this is just it. And then once you can do that, you can then be much freer. And I guess not arguments, but there was a time when boundaries were quite important when Derek was little. For example, we practiced a piece with the school band, like yesterday in F. And Derek would sit down playing F sharp at the beginning of the concert.
Yeah.
To go off stage and have a little chat about it.
Chat about it, yeah.
So, I think you did it deliberately, I still don't really know.
No.
I think the relationships that you develop with people. It's like any musician actually. You know how you have a relationship with your teacher. If you've got a good teacher, and that tends to go on. It doesn't stop, does it? Especially singers, they seem to go back to their teacher until the singer pops their clogs. And I've got a feeling it might be the same thing. If you're talking at me, you won't realise I haven't answered for 3 hours. Keeled over.
For another while, yes, Adam.
All right.
Did I see a hand up here? Yes.
I'm interested in silence. Yeah. About sound. And Derek's obviously very sensitive to absolutely every single sound you hear during the course of the day.
Yeah.
And they're all musical sounds to Derek, I assume. Can he find silence? How does he experience it? Is it relaxing? Is it threatening or tense?
I think that's really interesting. I go around with lots of schools, more in the UK obviously, and turn them off all the flipping radios that are always on, because it just drives me mad when people just have constant sound. And actually, children with autism can't necessarily foreground and background things in the same way. So to them, the fact they've got some music in the background might completely stop you from attending to anything else. Having said that, whenever I go around your house, Derek, you've always got the radio on.
I've always got the radio on in my house, Adam.
I've sort of given up, really. I think the other, okay, that's one side of it. The other side of it is if you can't see, then you can't have many of the cues that we use for reassurance. So
Cues.
Like when you're at home, you can see certain things and that gives you comfort knowing that you're in that environment. I think if you can't see, and my wife's blind actually, and she constantly has the radio on, and I think it's to do with almost like being able to see the familiar wallpaper. It's almost like that, with that familiarity of having a radio 4 or whatever it is on. So that's a complete diabolical answer because I said 2 different things. But that's the reality. Is actually, I think sound for some autistic children drives them crazy and crave silence. But actually for others like Derek, who's kind of learned to accommodate sound, it's actually more, it's just like a comfort, actually, having familiar sound. Yeah.
We'll take one more question, Rosie.
Take one more question, yes please, yeah.
I'm just interested to know, can you hear in your head what it is that you're going to improvise before you play it, or is it completely in the moment?
Completely in the moment, improvising.
And do your fingers just kind of go there?
They do, yes.
It's both, I think.
It's both.
I think a skillful improviser has learned motor patterns that they produce, especially when they're stuck. People do a turnaround or something. But I teach all the children I work to improvise, and I teach them by teaching them to sing and then play what they hear in their head. And Derek, could you play? Could you improvise and sing it at the same time? So we did. I don't know. Same thing when I get older. Can you improvise a bit on that?
Can improvise on When I Get Older, Adam. When I get older.
Okay, but I'm not saying that. Just like. Here we go. Can you sing it? Sing the improvising. Here we go.
When I get older, losing my head.
So yeah, both.
I hear both improvising.
Areas if you haven't got the motor skills, then you can't do it.
Yeah. And Adam, have you ever learned to read music through Braille, or is it all completely oral?
Totally oral, yeah. So
Braille.
When you went to school, I was told that you could read and write your name in Braille. When you left the school, you still couldn't do it. So, to be honest, Braille. I mean, I'm a teacher of the blind. I taught a lot of children Braille, but right across the UK, there's something like 70 children in each year group that learn Braille. It's a tiny thing. And of course, that makes it all the more important that for those who do need Braille, that they have the opportunity. In fact, I was down in Cork a couple of years ago, launching a sort of Braille music manifesto for Ireland, I think. So it should be there for those that want it, but for people like you, Derek, it wouldn't serve a purpose. And You can't read Braille anyway, so
No.
you just rely on your ears and your memory.
Yes, Adam, to read Braille.
Wits.
Yeah, to read Braille. Yeah.
Thank you. I think, do you want to say, wrap up, Rosie, with a few words, and then Adam, if you'd like to say anything just to finish off, and then we have coffee.
Oh, okay. Well, just thank you so much for being a fantastic audience, and I've got a feeling this thing will be available.
It'll be on his Facebook page.
So do join the Facebook page. You might see yourself singing or dancing.
Oh, Adam, and CDs upstairs.
Oh yes, oh sorry, Kelly's reminded me, if you want to buy a CD of Derek's quartet, they're upstairs.
They're
Great idea, because they're €10 and they're normally £10. Mind you, the way pounds go breaks it.
Well, Adam and Derek, I think I speak on behalf of everybody in the room to say that we are just completely overawed and inspired by such musical geniuses that we've had demonstrated here today. And I was wondering why it was that my ears couldn't get the Paravicini pronunciation right at the beginning. And it was because when I read your name first, I was thinking Pavarotti without seeing it on the page. But I think your musical prowess far supersedes Pavarotti. And all I can say on behalf of everybody in the room is that I am completely inspired by just what was revealed here today. And it really is a real manifestation of ability, innate ability that every child and young person has, irrespective of whatever circumstances into which they're born. And thank you so much for something that will definitely stay with me for the rest of my life and inspire me to continue to want to work in music education.
Thank you.
Hearing me play.
Absolutely fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.